Joining us now, Symone Sanders Townsend, co-host of The Weekend, right here on MSNBC. She previously served as chief spokesperson for Vice President Harris. Always thrilling to see you. Also with us is former Republican Congressman Charlie Dent. Charlie, let me start with you. In the wake of Trump tapping him for AG, Gaetz resigned from Congress. Now, Punchbowl reports, quote, Gaetz' sudden resignation comes just 2 days before the House Ethics Committee was set to vote on releasing what was described as a highly damaging report about the fourth-term lawmaker. You served as the chair of the Ethics Committee. What's your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, my reaction is pretty simple, that Gaetz resigned hoping that the committee would not release that report. Ordinarily what happens, Jose, is that when a member of Congress resigns, the Ethics Committee loses all jurisdiction over the investigation. But in this case, it sounds like the investigation was, in fact, completed. And so they had the report ready to go, so they were going to vote to adopt the report, which I'm sure was very damaging. It was likely to announce some type of a sanction, could be a reprimand, a censure, possibly an expulsion. And of course, then they would vote to release the report to the public. So the question is, since the investigation is probably complete, will the committee actually release the report? And I believe there is precedent that this has been done in the past, that they could release a report of a member who is now resigned. That happened in the case of Senator John Ensign, I believe, several years ago. And so I'm curious to see what the committee will do, how they will react. I suspect they will still have their scheduled meeting tomorrow.
And Charlie, so how does that committee meeting or that report commission work as far as for us to understand what work has already been done in this case? Yeah. How does it work?
Well, the committee it meets very quietly, secretly. They don't do things publicly. So there was an investigative subcommittee set up on the matter of Matt Gaetz. They investigated. Obviously, they do very thorough professional investigations. They've done their work, apparently. Again, they're not saying this publicly. And they've completed it. And they're going to issue this report. And by the way, the Ethics Committee did something extraordinary in this matter. Several months ago, you may remember the committee released a statement about an ongoing investigation of Matt Gaetz, stating specifically what they were investigating and what they were not investigating. They never do that, ever. But Matt Gaetz had been speaking publicly about the committee, and I think the committee decided to set the record straight. So the committee ordinarily doesn't issue press statements, but they will issue a public report. So that's really the big question right now. Will they release the report now that Matt Gaetz has resigned? Because it sounds like that investigation was completed before he announced his resignation yesterday.
And Symone, you know, Senator John Fetterman referred to Trump tapping Gaetz to lead the DOJ as, quote, God-tier level trolling. How do you see this?
I think the senators should get on board with the New World Washington, D.C. order. I think they'd love to believe that this is just trolling. You know, there are a lot of theories out there floating around, right, that, oh, Matt Gaetz isn't Donald Trump's real pick. He has another pick, and this is just to gather everyone's attention. But why would we believe that? Donald Trump has been very clear. You know, he wants retribution. He said, I will be the retribution for the people. That's what he said repeatedly on the campaign trail. He said that he's talked about the deep state. He's talked about the weaponization of government throughout his time on the campaign trail. So now the president-elect is making good on his promises. Just like with the announcement of Tom Homan as the quote-unquote border czar, he is making good on his promises here with Matt Gaetz. And so I think what Senator Fetterman and others have said, other senators, Democratic senators, and even folks like Murkowski, right, Lisa Murkowski, who have, you know, said this is unbelievable, this is not serious. It's very serious. It's happening. And I know NBC News has not independently confirmed this, but Robert Costa and other reporters are actively tweeting, and I have talked to a number of people on the Hill, frankly, who say that a president gets their picks and that they actually expect the process to go forward. Now, the question on the table is if senators play ball with Donald Trump as it relates to recess appointments. And just so people understand, a recess appointment means that in 10 days while the Senate is out, that the president of the United States can unilaterally appoint someone to a position. Senator Thune, who is now head of the Senate Republicans, has said that he wants to, go through the process that's always been there. Lindsey Graham said that concurrently, but they're not saying that they're not going to go along with recess appointments. And a recess appointment is not final, right? It's temporary. The Senate has to come back once they do come back and confirm that person. But if they don't confirm them, they'll just be acting. Right? There are many acting leaders of departments in the Trump administration. There's acting leaders of the departments in the Biden administration now. Julie Su has been the acting Secretary of Labor. So I know people would love to believe that this is some like high level 3D chess game. This is what Donald Trump wants. So I'm gonna hold America's hand here when I say, get ready, folks. Okay, I don't think there's any high level trolling, any games going on here. This is the new Washington, D.C. world order, and I'm wondering how Democrats and Republicans are going to react to it.
And Charlie, I know you served in Congress at the same time Tulsi Gabbard did, who was a Democrat at the time. What do you think of her being picked to oversee our national security apparatus?
Well, yeah, I know Tulsi. We were very friendly when we were members, and I'm actually very surprised by this announcement. In fact, it was just as I was completing my time as chairman of the Ethics Committee in January of 2017, she had called me about wanting to go to Syria. And she needed my approval to go because I had been the chairman of the Ethics Committee, except my term as committee chairman ended the day before. And I said, I'm really not in the position any longer to approve or disapprove of this travel to Syria. And I think she was going to go meet with Assad. And I said to her, as your friend, I'm not so sure this is a great idea because, there's security concerns. Of course, they'd use it as a propaganda tool. And so I was surprised. She has ties with the Syrians that many have questioned. And she's also said things more favorable to the Russians. So I'm really surprised that this nomination was made for this position. If they wanted to use Tulsi Gabbard, I thought they might put her somewhere else. So I'm a bit mystified by this nomination. And by the way, in
Charlie,
addition
I want to ask you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say on the Gates matter, one thing. That report, now that he's been nominated as to be the Attorney General, I am sure the Senate is going to demand that the House provide that report to them as part of their inquiry into his nomination. They're going to want to see all this information. So the Senate's going to put pressure on the House in the Gates matter.
Charlie, back to the issue of when Tulsi Gabbard talked to you about this upcoming trip to Syria. There are members of Congress that go on Codels that sometimes could be seen as controversial. We have, forever Codels going to Cuba to meet with the dictatorship there. We've got Codels going all kinds of places. But this specific request and issue of going to see the Syrian dictator, how is that different?
Yeah, well, just remember, you just used the term Codel. That's a congressional delegation. Those are taxpayer-funded congressional travel. What Tulsi Gabbard did, and many members do, and there's nothing wrong with this, they're allowed to do what's called privately sponsored travel. In order to go to a country paid for by non-governmental sources, that must be approved by the Ethics Committee. And that's why she came to me, and that's completely legitimate. By the way, in my day job, I run the Aspen Institute Congressional Program, and we sponsor congressional travel. It's perfectly legitimate. So the point I'm just trying to make, that's why she needed approval. To do a taxpayer-funded trip overseas, goes through the Congress, through the committees that are sponsoring the trip, and the Speaker of the House has to sign off on Codels.